Hi, I'm David Kaplan, Director of Product Management for Gotham Lighting, a brand of Acuity Brands, and I'm excited to talk to you today about the latest product line from Gotham, IVO downlights and cylinders. I'll be showcasing IVO's performance using this Lumen Arcade here, a real-time dynamic rendering software that uses actual IVO IES files. Before we dive into the 5 learning modules today, I want to showcase for you the functionality and performance that the Lumen Arcade has to offer. So I'm going to start by taking this tablet, which gives me an environment, a room environment I can see here, and bring in some IVO downlight IES files. So right here, I brought in a parabolic downlight. I'm bringing it over to this wall that has different pattern and texture to it, 3-dimensional wall. I'm going to change this downlight from a wide angle distribution to narrow, 10 degree, boost up the lumens, and bring it closer over to the wall here. Then what I'm going to do is array this into 4 lights and place them close to the wall at about a 2-foot offset from each other. You can see these are all 10-degree beams, creating a really nice grazer effect on this wall. Nice bright and dark contrast, good visual interest over here on this well-designed and interesting wall. The wrong way to maybe illuminate this wall would be to use, say, a wall wash. Bringing a couple of wall washes over, use them in pairs at least typically. I'm going to aim it over at the wall, give my lumens up again, and then see the effect that it plays on this wall over here. Almost regardless of the distance I place the wall washes, you can see how much it flattens out that wall and the geometry that's built into that wall. It makes it so that it's almost like it's a wallpaper and you really lose that dynamic contrast. So what we're gonna do is kind of get rid of these wall washes here, duplicate this array, and bring this array, this second array over to really populate this graze line and really create that great visual interest over here on this wall. Instead, on this other wall to the right, this is maybe where wall washes are more appropriate. This can show you the performance of an actual IVO wall wash. I'm gonna make an array out of this as well. 2 of them. I'm going to make them 48 inches apart, so 4 feet. And IVO is designed to work about 3 feet off the wall and 4 feet on center. So I can use this measure tool, place them about 3 feet off the wall or so, and kind of see what that performance is. Now, the spacing for the IVO wall wash is based on grid sealing. So if the grids start at a wall that you're trying to wash, 3 feet off the wall is the center of the second row of T-grids. And if you're going every other grid, then the center point of those grids is 4 feet. So hence the 3 feet off the wall, 4 foot on center spacing here. And you can see how nicely we're illuminating this wall over there in that IVO performance. On the back, I see there's some artwork. So I'm going to grab a couple accent fixtures, take an IVO adjustable, put it near this artwork. It starts out at 0 degree tilt. I'm going to go ahead and boost it up to create lots of light there, 3000 lumens. And then I'm going to adjust its angle and watch that light go from about 10 degrees up the wall, 15 degree tilt, 20, 25, 30, up to 40 degree tilt. So there, obviously I've over tilted here. The fixture either would like to be further away or more likely you're going to bring the tilt down. And maybe that is a bit too wide of distribution for this application. So I'm going to maybe go a little narrower and focus more of the light directly on that artwork. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to duplicate that adjustable and aim at this second piece of artwork over there. So I've got really nice graze wall here. I've got artwork hit and I've got wall washes over there. Let's hit a spot of light on this sculpture. So grab a parabolic downlight. Again, because I'm creating accent lighting, I'm going to boost it up and tighten the beam. and really try to hit that sculpture to make it stand out and kind of pop in that room. So the light on this room is pretty well filled out, except for this pool of light in and around the couch in this general illumination area. We're kind of missing a layer of light here. So to do general illumination, I'll just bring a single fixture in. This starts out as a wide angle distribution, boosts it up to about 2000 lumens, and we can see that there's lots of light throughout the space, but let's understand kind of where that light is being placed exactly. To do that, we can go to this heat map and take a look at the performance of this light at various beam spreads on the floor and on the accompanying furniture. So I'm narrowing this beam because at the wide angle distributions, I can see I'm kicking a lot of light over onto the couch where people are going to be sitting. We don't want to be getting light in their face, on their brows to create squinting. So we're going to probably narrow those beams, maybe down to 30 degrees or maybe down to 45 degrees and hit what might be a coffee table in front of that couch there. So having done all that, you know, I feel like generally very quickly, I've kind of designed out this room and this space. IVO has lots of functionality, and so does the Lumen Arcade to help showcase that functionality. We can also adjust this lighting, grab everything, and see how this room feels with, say, a different color temperature. Go from 3000 down to 2700 to warm it up there, or go up to 3500, get cooler, 4000, and the effect of going even to 5000 Kelvin. So you can see how cold this is, not very inviting, not very warm and cozy. I think 2700K or 3000K is kind of the right color temperature. And this is just showcasing for you a few of the tricks that the Lumen Arcade brings to the table here when helping anyone visualize IVO's performance in a space and how it's going to work in any application that you have. In this module, we're going to talk about how bounding ray design enables visual comfort. So first, I'm going to start by taking this space and illuminating it with a typical wide angle downlight. In this case, a 90-degree lensed bevel. Here you can see we've got this little lighting studio, have a single downlight in the space. This downlight is, we'll bump it up to 1500 lumens, 3000 Kelvin, and we're gonna kind of fill out this space with 4 of these. So I'm making an array here. We're gonna go 4 feet across, whoops, we'll go 5 feet apart, 60 inches that way or so, and really kind of illuminate this space here. And you can see how much light is being filled out in this space by these 90-degree beams. However, you can also see how these 90-degree beams and these lens bevel downlights really create quite a lot of glare from the room side experience, which is not something we're trying to do in proper lighting design. So a better way to do this might be to instead use IVO's parabolic downlight, which is a 75-degree-ish beam, but the same spacing as the 90-degree beam, so 1.2 spacing to mounting height ratio. I'm gonna array this one 60 by 60 inches again, and we'll take a look at how this one looks in the space. So here you can see the space is fairly similarly illuminated. We're probably not wasting quite as much light on the wall, but the look of the trim is completely different. While it's on, it still has a quiet look to it. It is not as glary and just a much more comfortable look. This is a 45-degree cutoff angle. The lens bevel 90-degree would be a much larger cutoff angle. So you're going to be experiencing that source from throughout the space. And a proper way to do downlighting and create visual comfort for the occupants is by considering what the flash and glare characteristics look like on your trims. So we compared IVO to a lensed bevel. Let's compare the IVO bounding ray trim and performance to a non-bounding ray parabolic trim. So in this for instance, I'm going to take a similar 75-degree non-bounding ray trim that has the same spacing of IVO. I'm going to make both of these 1500 lumens. And you can see again how quiet the IVO downlight is versus the non-bounding ray technology downlight. To get a little bit better of a view of what we're talking about, I'm gonna grab a camera here, bring it into this space, aim it over at the lights, and then start looking up at the ceiling. And then we're gonna kind of experience this as if we were walking through the space. So you can see from further away in the room, right, we're outside of the cutoff angle because you don't see the source. But already on the non-bounding ray parabolic trim, you can see tons of flash on that trim over there, while the IVO trim stays nice and quiet. As we walk closer and closer to the fixture, here the flash has been introduced not only at the bottom, but also at the top. And IVO, on the flip side, is just starting to introduce flash from the top and kind of bring it down as that source comes into focus there, right? So this is gonna be kind of the experience of someone walking through the room there. So for comparison of the bounding ray technology and non-bounding ray, it's pretty clear which one performs better in a room where you're trying to create visual comfort. Let's go back and add in that lens bevel trim in downlight over there. So that's the wide one. I'm going to bring all these a little bit closer together, and we're going to show lots of different ways that people are doing downlighting. So now we have IVO, non-bounding ray technology, parabolic, a 90-degree lens bevel. I'm going to grab another IVO, the hyperbolic trim, and put it over here. This one I also will normalize up to, I think we were 1500 lumens, and allow that to sit in the room. Now, this is on. This hyperbolic is on in the left, but hyperbolic trims are the quietest, visually quietest trims available on the market. So it's very difficult to see the light unless you're walking right under the source. So here you can see that it's illuminated. I'll aim the camera up so we can kind of look up inside of that fixture. You can see that it's illuminated. I'm gonna drag this back over here and show, how there's light hitting the wall there. And it's just a really uber quiet visual experience there. It's really up to you how you wanna light your space. Here's a non-lens bevel, right? Still a very quiet look compared to the other options. And again, if we use the camera and kind of walk through this, you can see we can do things such as set a target. So I'm gonna have this camera always be looking at the lens bevel. And then as I move it around throughout the space, it's always focused on that one trim that I'm interested in. And you can see how the flash in characteristics, how quiet it is from further away, and then how it brightens up and is providing light inside the space once you get inside that cutoff angle. So just lots of variety, different ways of doing spaces. And you really want to be thoughtful about what you're picking so that it gives you the foot candles that you need, but is also comfortable for the occupants in the space. In this module, we're going to use the Lumen Arcade to showcase how perfect color technology by IVO offers consistent and reliable illumination. So we have a space pre-populated here with some parabolic downlights. We have an array of 4 of those right there. We have some lens wall wash fixtures 4 feet apart and about 3 feet off of the wall over here, nicely illuminating that wall. And then we have 2 accent lights in the back, 2 adjustable fixtures that are aiming to kind of hit this art with. Now, over here, we have this textured wall that we're gonna start introducing some downlights to and really use it to showcase the criticality and importance of color consistency. So I'm going to make an array of grazers, narrow beam grazers here. I will take this and make this downlight a 10 degree. I'm going to boost its lumens up to 2000. And then I'm going to array it in that direction, about 2 feet apart. Bring that close to the wall and look at how nice that wall is grazed and kind of becomes an area of visual interest for the space, right? We're really showing that high brightness point contrasted with the shadows to really create some good visual interest. But this wall is also showcasing the color of the light, for better and for worse. In this case, IVO, which has half-step McAdams ellipse color consistency, the tightest color consistency on the market, is doing a really great job of keeping that wall nice and white, just like we designed it. However, not every fixture offers half-step McAdams ellipse. If I go and grab, say, a competitive downlight and put that at about 2000 lumens there, make it the same 3000 Kelvin. This is already available in an array. I'm going to bring this over, adjust this to its 3-step McAdams ellipse, and just kind of show you the difference there. Very subtle up against that wall. You can slightly see some red and green, but I'm going to use this camera option that we have with the Lumen Arcade, aim it over at this wall, and then kind of walk ourselves over towards this wall to really get a nice straight-on look of the difference between IVO's color consistency and what is, typically standard on the market. So separate these a little bit more. There's IVO, really nice and white, but you can see even with 3-step and on the extremes of 3-step ellipses that we've got a little bit of red, some green or maybe some white there, a little bit of pink, red, and some green there as well. When we go to 5-step, it stands out even a little bit more. Green, red, really not what you're going for. Anytime you have a downlight that's hitting light on the wall, you're going to be showcasing its color, and the criticality of that color consistency is just vital for your space. And it's important not just at day one, but also throughout the life of the fixture. So all LEDs color shift. It's just the nature of the physics of LEDs. IVO's starting at a very narrow beam, and by us thermally managing the LEDs well, maintains its color consistency over time. However, on a 3-step or a typical downlight with 3-step McAdams ellipse, you may be starting with something that looks a little bit more like IVO, but over time, it's going to shift from 2-step to 3-step to 4-step, maybe even to 5-step. And that's over maybe 50,000 hours. Maybe that's happening at 20 or 25,000 hours. And while you may have this day one, you may end up with this after your 25, 30,000 hours. IVO's portfolio is built to create beautiful lighting for any space, whether it's casual restaurant or fine dining experiences. And we do that by creating various layers of light throughout the IVO portfolio. So let's start by adding some downlights over this bar area right here. And I can see already that this is creating a really wide pool of light. Lots of light is kind of hitting in areas that I don't necessarily want. So I'm going to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to change these from downlights, recessed downlights, to pendant cylinders. And I can adjust the height of the cylinders here. So for a bar atmosphere, I don't want light on the people sitting at the bar's kind of eyebrows or face. I don't want them to be uncomfortable squinting with that light. So I'm going to bring it at a nice low level, and I'm going to adjust the beam spread to something a little narrower, from wide to 40 degree. Maybe that's a little too much. Maybe we'll go 50 degrees. And I'm going to put 3 of these in the space over the bar to really create kind of nice illumination in that space. And that sets us up for having this bar be bar area be nicely illuminated for task, for food or drinks that they're consuming. Now on this back wall, I can see there's a little bit of greenery going on there. So I'm going to bring a fixture back there and think about what's a way that I can really make this back wall stand out by adding a different layer of light. From this task at the bar, I'm now going to create kind of a grazer effect on this green wall in the back. So I'm going to take this downlight. I'm going to go really narrow on its beam to 10 degree. I'm going to boost the lumens up to 2000. And then I'm going to array this into an array of 4 about 3 feet apart and see how that looks. Place that closer to the green wall. And now you can see how much contrast is created by that back wall there. This nice green and log, and the colors are kind of popping out. You've got light and dark, really creating a nice area of visual interest. Now let's fill out the rest of the space with some illumination. So on this back wall on the right over here, we have a little piece of artwork. So I'm gonna go grab the way that people typically illuminate walls or even relatively large pieces of art like that is just with a wall washer. Placing it kind of in that area is just giving us lots of illumination on that back wall there. And then we're gonna fill this out by putting just general illumination downlights throughout the center of this. So this is again starting as a wide angle, maybe 1500 lumens, and array this as a 2x2 array in this general area. And kind of see what light that's giving us here. So maybe I feel like I need to add 6 of those to kind of create light for the table and also kind of in this area here, except that. And now there's tons of light there. Lower that down to 1000 lumens. And this is creating general illumination, lots of light on lots of surfaces, some task here, grazer, wall wash. And it's kind of typical for a casual dining experience, lots of light everywhere. But if we want to elevate the experience a little bit more and create more of a fine dining experience, let's make the space a little bit more intimate. So let's pick from IVO's other options of beam spreads and fixtures to do that. So instead of making this back wall just generally illuminated via a wall wash, let's change this to an adjustable, an accent light. Now the adjustable starts out at 0 degree tilt. I'm aiming it over at the wall, and I'm going to start to tilt this fixture up until it really nicely hits that artwork. And now you've got, again, your contrast of dark and light and just creating kind of visual interest there. If we wanted to kind of duplicate this light and place it over on this wood slat wall, we could do that as well and create illumination over there just to kind of highlight that architecture piece there. So now lots of areas of visual interest, very comfortable for the space, but we still have tons of light in this area without too much focus of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete half of these lights and adjust these 3 lights in this wayfinding area, this kind of walkway as you enter into the restaurant, and go from a wide angle distribution to something a little bit more narrower, right? Down to 30 degree, pop those lumens up, maybe even down to 20 degrees. And now I'm creating pools of light that kind of can help somebody find their way into the restaurant, to find their way to this gorgeous back green wall. Let's give a little bit more illumination on these tables here where these diners are sitting. So I'm going to take my 3x3 array. I duplicated it again. I'm going to move it over here and kind of give it a treatment over these tables here. So how are these light levels working for the tables? To get a better sense of that, I can go to my heat map mode. I can see that I'm hitting the tables really great, but I'm also spilling lots of light over onto the chairs and essentially lots of light onto the diners' eyes and faces, which is not exactly what we're going for. We want to create a more comfortable experience. So I'm going to change these 3 from their beams down to something much narrower to create a really intimate setting and I can see there's not a lot of light hitting the chair now. And let's take a look at what that looks like. And now you can see you've got great task light on the tables, all 3 of them there. Just gonna fudge a couple of them over to be centered on the table. And now you've really kind of set your restaurant up for a nice intimate experience. And this is just showcasing you the variety of functionality that IVO offers with different beam spreads, distributions, lumen levels, adjustability, and a large variety to create any sort of experience that you're looking for in any sort of space that you can think of. In a gym, lighting is key for safety and visibility, and quality beams have a lot to do when choosing a downlight. So what I'm going to show here is how we're going to illuminate this gym equipment area space with a non-IVO downlight for starters. It doesn't have good, clean beams. So I'm going to place this non-IVO downlight over here. I'm going to boost its lumens up to 2000, and I'm going to array this into 4 and kind of place that around the equipment there and take a look at how that's kind of working for us here. This is giving us a little bit of a sense of its performance. A better way to take a look at it might be with a top-down view, more of a bird's eye view, to get a sense of exactly kind of what's happening on the floor. I can see some dark areas over here already and bright, and the heat map is really going to be the tool that shows us where this lighting inconsistency is. So you can see just not good even foot candles across these 2 surfaces up here, really bright in between this equipment and maybe where the runners are on the treadmills, really not what you're looking for. So let's get these non-IVO lights out of here and instead take a look at how IVO would accomplish this. So I'm going to grab these and I'm going to swap them for some IVO downlights, put it at the same setting. So we're going to pick a medium wide, back up to 2000 lumens, and boom, look at how even that illumination level is in these 2 areas, how much more even it is on the treadmills as well, and really just a better way of lighting that space, much more safe than creating these high areas of dark and light contrast. Now I'm going to show that not every narrow or medium beam is the same from manufacturer to manufacturer. When we talk about quality beams and quality of light, this really matters as well. So we're going to start by populating this space and showing you what a non-IVO 25-degree beam does over by this gym equipment. Going to boost the lumens up to 2000 there. Take a look at that beam. I can already tell that being a 25-degree beam, there feels like there's a lot of light being kicked out over here into the main area of this room. Let's compare it to an IVO downlight. Starts out as wide. We'll bring it down for comparison to the 25-degree, boost its lumens up to 2000. And I can already see here that I'm getting much better color control and light control over on the IVO downlight. The heat map really tells the story though. And you can see over here how this 25-degree beam has lots and lots of field light spilling out into areas that you really don't intend for a 25-degree narrow medium beam pool of light versus the much more focused light from the IVO option. And these are really the tenets that IVO is going for. You want the light exactly where it's intended and nowhere else. And IVO's variety of optic options from 10 degrees up to 60 every 5 degrees and 3 batwing options really give you the distributions that you would expect at every level. In this module, we're going to use the Lumen Arcade to discover the importance of open and lens wall washing. So in our gym space that we have set up here, we're going to go into the equipment area and populate it with some open wall washes. Open wall washes are going to give us the opportunity to put vertical light on the wall as well as some task light into the space, some general illumination into the space as well. So I'll go grab an open wall wash here. I'll aim it over at the wall. Let's adjust its lumens up to say 2,000 lumens, and then I'm going to create an array of it, 4 of these going across, and put them about 4 feet or so, maybe 3 feet apart. Boom, there's our open wall washing over here. I'm going to copy this array and continue it kind of down the line. So duplicate, move these guys over. And now I've got really nice wall washing over on this wall, as well as some really good usable light on the floor in the area where the equipment is. Now we have a corner wrap here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on a corner wall wash, an open corner wall wash right into this space in this corner where that equipment is, and aim it over to the corner of the wall to try to help me continue that wall washing from the long wall over to the short wall, creating really a nice wall wash transition for me. And then I'm going to continue to populate this shorter wall with the remaining open wall washes. So there's one aimed over at that wall. Do I feel like that's enough? I might want a second one, so I'll make an array there and bring it the same distance in, about 3 feet. And that, I feel like, is giving me really nice wall wash wrapped around this area here. All right, so that's open wall washes, and corner wall washes giving me good vertical illumination on the wall, as well as some usable light on the floor and on the equipment. On this vertical wall over here, this concrete wall, I'm going to now use the lensed wall wash. The lensed wall wash distributes all of its light asymmetrically to the wall. So there's not a lot of light being sent directly below the fixture. Purely a wall wash. And I'm going to bring it over here and make this a, say, surface mount cylinder, and array it a little bit further apart there to kind of see how's my performance doing over on the wall there. A little too close, so maybe these need to be pendants, and bring them up much closer to that wall surface, depending on how far away from the wall I want to be. All right, there we go. So now we got really nice light on that vertical wall illuminating over here. And now this is the only remaining space that needs to be illuminated. So we'll go grab a couple more lens wall washes and see about hitting this back wall over here with this nice branding sign. Boost those up again to 2,000. And now create an array of these across like that. Bring them down a little bit. Play with different heights. Figure out kind of exactly where I want to place these to create visual interest on that back wall and nice vertical illumination that's also illuminating kind of the rest of the space in a little bit softer of a way. So now I've kind of got 2 arrays, this nice set of arrays of wall washes hitting that wall, opening up the space, and then I can fill out the rest of the space with my accent lighting or my general illumination and be off and running. So you can see how open wall washes and lens wall washes give you a nice variety for any application that you encounter.